Hi, I'm Sharrie Harlin-Davis, program host for Reid Beside You. And today we welcome Jason Troutwine, Vice President and Reid Foundation President for Reid Health. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Sharrie. Good to be here.
And this is very interesting because we are taping from IU East and we are welcoming you back to Reid Health. So tell our audience what you've been doing and then how you came back to Reid.
Sure. Yeah. So it was interesting. Actually, on my way here from the Reid campus, Craig Kenyon, our CEO, he stopped me for a second and said, "Hey, I have something to show you." And went in his office for a second. He handed me a card. It was my 1-year anniversary card. So I've been back at Reid almost a year now. So I started in January of 2022, and so I'm rolling up on that 1-year anniversary. But I worked, as you know, I worked at Reid in the foundation office from 2004 to 2014, and I was the foundation director. And then since then, I was at IU East for about 8 years as vice chancellor for external affairs. So I had a chance to work with the people who, the WCTV folks, so Eric and Ryan and their crew. And so this is kind of my old stomping grounds a little bit. So it's funny, I changed when I left IU East when I left Reid to go to IU East, I increased my commute by a minute, and then when I went back to Reid, I decreased my commute by a minute. So it's all been on the north side of town.
Oh, great. And what are you doing at Reid? Some of your responsibilities.
Yeah, so when I came in January, some of the units that I support, so marketing communications, and then volunteer services, community benefit, and then community outreach. So we get a chance to work together, of course. And then in September, on September 30th, Randy Kirk, who was a longtime foundation president, he retired. And upon his retirement, then the foundation also became one of the areas. So I inherited that foundation president title from Randy. So those are kind of the areas that I support. Most of them external.
Right. So you tend to handle everything that's dealing with outside the hospital and whereas we work with the community as well. So.
Yeah, a good portion of what we're doing and we're sharing out in the community comes back to some of the areas that I support. So, yeah.
Well, actually today we're really highlighting what's going on at Reid, specifically what's going on the new venture in Fayette County.
Yeah, so we have a lot of exciting things in Connersville going on. So this past fall, so in October, we were able to kind of ceremonially break ground down in Connersville. So at the old Kmart building there, that Kmart's been torn down on Park Road, and Reid purchased that several years ago. And so we took that building down, and that's where we'll build a replacement hospital. Now, when we talk about a replacement hospital, we really mean more of like an outpatient hospital with an emergency area, and we can talk a little bit about what all is going to be in that space. But we broke ground ceremonially on October 19th. We had a great groundbreaking ceremony that involved a lot of folks from the community. The mayor was there, Dan Parker was there from the EDC. We had a lot of students involved from Connersville schools.
But we're seeing some of the pictures.
Oh yeah, so we got some
great
great photos there. Yeah, so there's Mayor Frank there, and we had a lot of students from Connersville. One of the students sang the national anthem. Jocelyn McClung, who was a senior at Connersville High School, she was one of our speakers. We had some great photos of some little kids with shovels. It was a lot of fun. And so that was a great day, and we had a great turnout for it. So there were, I would estimate, a couple hundred people there. And then on the following Saturday, was it the 22nd, we had the Big Build Bash out in the park, and we were able to have a lot of fun that day too.
And a very well-attended concert. So.
Yeah, so we had the Sean Lamb and Janet Miller Band. They performed that night, so we had a great concert. We had a lot of Reid groups that came out for the event. So we did some face painting, and so we had some characters there, and you kind of see some of the pictures. But a lot of the Reid departments and our marketing department, they kind of organized all that, did a nice job on it. But it was just great to see a lot of people volunteer from Reid to give up a Saturday and go down and kind of celebrate with everyone from Connersville. And again, that was a great turnout too. Had some food vendors, had some good music. It was a good day.
A couple of things during the groundbreaking. It was so interesting because we had such a variety of ages and different people in the community, as well as some of the stories were great with people who the young children, and then their grandfathers had either helped build the hospital or had been part of the hospitals.
Yeah, so we mentioned we had some students there, and we really feel like that facility, it's for the future of Fayette County. And so when we were putting together the groundbreaking, we felt like, it was really important for us to include students, because that's going to be their hospital someday. And so obviously today, but also maybe their kids' hospital as well, or their kids' hospital. So we wanted to include them in that process. And then kind of along the way, we discovered just some of the connections. One of the young ladies who's a student in Connersville, when I called her mom and said, hey, can she attend? And she said, yeah. And she said, well, is it okay if she brings her own hard hat? And I said, okay, sure, she can bring her own hard hat. And she said, well, her grandfather was part of the renovation of the last piece of kind of the Fayette regional building, Fayette Regional building on Virginia. And she said that she wanted to wear that same hard hat that he wore for this groundbreaking for this new hospital, because she wanted her grandpa to be part of both buildings. And it just was kind of cool. So just to see the way that the kids were really excited, and they're walking away with those shovels and their hard hats and that kind of thing. But it was nice to have them there.
I kept my hard hat.
Yeah, I did too.
One of the things, let's talk about not only the excitement for Fayette County, but this is almost a national issue with rural health, and the idea that we're building a facility of that magnitude in rural Indiana has made national news. And also we had representatives from the Indiana Hospital Association. You want to share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, this is not happening everywhere. When I say this, I mean investing in major healthcare facilities in rural communities. We've seen a lot of those, to be honest, just be sheltered or shuttered, and people abandoning them, or in towns going without health care and having to travel. And that was really what this was about. When we came in and kind of acquired the assets of Fayette Regional, Reid, we made a promise to the folks in Fayette County that we were going to be there and we're going to provide access to health care. And we're fulfilling that promise to them by building this new facility. But that's not happening elsewhere. And that's why we saw the folks from Indiana Hospital Association, and Brian Tabor was one of the ones who spoke that day, come in and say, hey, we want to be part of this, because this is a big deal. We want to make sure that people know how big a deal it is that Reid Health is building a $100 million facility in a rural community in Fayette County, $100 million. And so that's just not something that's happening in a lot of places. But for us, like I said, it's about fulfilling a promise. It's about providing access to, folks. So the services that are going to be in that space, it's going to have some primary care, but it's also going to have a lot of outpatient care, as well as an emergency room with a helicopter pad. And so all those aspects are important. When you think about primary care, just having quick primary care, but some folks who maybe are doing infusion therapy for cancer treatment, or maybe they see their cardiologist on a regular basis. A lot of those folks have to drive to Richmond to do that. Well, transportation is an issue for a lot of people, and or to get away from work, or to figure out how they're going to get there. And so that's one of the reasons we want to have that kind of hospital in Fayette County, as well as the emergency room with the helipad next to it. Fayette hasn't had a helipad next to their emergency room in over 30 years. And so right now, if someone comes into the emergency room and they need to be transported out for like major accident, like neurological care or something like that, like neurosurgery, we have to actually take them to the airport and then take them, and that's, and minutes, minutes matter and when saving someone's life. So to have that helipad right on site, right next to the ED, that's a big deal for that community.
And I'm glad you explained the helipad, because often people will say, well, if I'm sick, are you going to take me on the helipad? It's like, well, that's going to vary based on the seriousness of your condition.
Yeah, we would only transport someone by helicopter for something that we're not able to offer here. And so like a neurosurgery, would be, something, or if it's something, a major surgery with possibly a peds patient, those kinds of things, we would transport them by helicopter. And then, of course, if it's something that maybe something cardio related, we'd get them up here to Reid and make sure that we take care of them the right way. So.
And with exploring some of the community involvement that, as you're looking in and the investment of the hospital and the input we receive from the community.
Yeah, we feel like Fayette is our community, and we're part of it. And we have a lot of employees who live there, obviously a lot of employees who work there. I mean, we're talking several hundred employees who live in Fayette County who work at Reid Health. And so we're part of the community, we're part of the fabric of it, and we want to make sure that we prove that all the time. And so some of the ways that we've done that, not just with the groundbreaking and then the Big Build Bash, I mean, those were celebratory kinds of things, but also ways that we can give back to the community. So, for example, recently we were part of their Community Day of Sharing. So Brayton Johns did a really great job of kind of getting that all organized in Connersville, as well as some other folks that surrounded him. But we had over 65, 70 people from Reid who volunteered a full day there. I know I was out there, and we started. There was a group of us. We started down by the ballpark down there, and we were, taking out brush and trimming trees and stuff. And then we started painting a little bit. We painted some of the dugouts and some of the fence posts. And then later in the day, I got to work with the FFA kids. And we planted some trees and did some mulching and things right by the railroad station there. And I'll tell you, I was tired that day. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. We got a chance to meet some people that we hadn't met before. And I drove past there just the other day, and kind of, you smile when you drive past and you see, yeah, I was part of putting that up, and a lot of other Reid folks and a lot of other folks just from Fayette County. So it was good to be there. But those are the kind of things, whether it's through volunteerism or it's through the community benefit things that we do. You giving out shoes there, you've helped provide a lot of shoes in Fayette County through the Shoes for Kids program. Those are all ways that Reid's trying to make sure that people know that we're there to help.
And one of the things I got to help at the Oasis. Look at it. Didn't have the best gardening skills, so I had a lot of people to learn from. So, and it was just amazing to see all the community input. And the other thing was the excitement.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that
it was great.
helpful.
And what was interesting, for example, there were some people like you who live here in Richmond, and me too, that went down. And then there were also a lot of people from Reid who live in Fayette County who were there. And so kind of seeing, folks, it wasn't just the folks who live in Fayette that were helping Fayette. Right. It was Reid folks, regardless of where they live, being down there and being part of the community. So it's exciting.
We have one of our programs that's sponsored through Community Benefit, and I get to host is Thriving Thursday. That's at the Fayette County Senior Center once a month, and we bring in speakers, we provide lunch, and it's been very interesting and exciting because now the trees were planted that you helped. We were right in by the railroad station, so they monthly always say thank you because it just has a completely different look.
Yeah, it brightened up that little area there. And then I know, when talking, I know the mayor's got some big plans for downtown area too, that kind of, all in that whole area. So, I worked in Connersville back in the early 2000s, and it's exciting to see some of the things that are happening. And I'm really excited that Reid's part of what's next for Connersville and Fayette County.
Another group that we've been really working with is a new healthier Fayette County, or Building Through Connection, and I probably have the title incorrect, but I'm part of the leadership group there, and we are looking and working with the mayor as well as some other exciting things that are going on in Connersville / Fayette. So.
Yeah, when you think about economic development, that was one of the things that, when Dan Parker and also the mayor, when they spoke at the groundbreaking, and we all know it to be true too, your hospital matters when you think about economic development, hospitals and schools. And so it's one of the first things that, any economic development professional will tell you is when they're trying to attract new businesses, they're going to say, so tell me about your healthcare and tell me about your schools. And so, that's another reason that this investment is so important when we think about, from an economic development, when others hopefully will follow by making further investments and by creating new businesses or whatever it might be. So that's another reason that this is an exciting project.
And it's been exciting to see just the momentum. If you're driving through Fayette, you're starting to see a lot of more, there's construction, there's a lot of businesses that are starting to come on board. And so that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, like I said, it's hopefully others will follow our lead, and we'll see that $100 million building come up out of the ground. So just from a timing perspective, we'll formally break ground in 2024. So here in this first quarter is when we're going to start to see some ground being really moved. And our ceremonial digging was in little sandboxes, but we're going to start to see some of that parking lot torn up, and then start to see the foundation put in, and start to see it rise from the ground, and that'll be exciting. And so that'll take a couple of years. So we're projecting that. Excuse me, I said 2024, 2023, excuse me. So first quarter 2023, and they'll be completed by 2024. So it'll take about, a year and a half to 2 years for it to be completed, but we're anticipating by the end of 2024, the building will be done. And hopefully in between that time period, we've seen some others start to make their own investments too.
I have a couple questions that after we presented at the Senior Center recently, as well as I think I got to do about 10 presentations at Brian's Bistro, because I had the renderings with me. So each group would come up and explain this to me. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what this is going to be? It was to actually, put their hands and actually see the renderings. So first things, let's talk about Kunkel's.
Okay. Yeah, so Kunkel's, so Tony's been a great partner for us. I know there was a lot of rumors about, if Reid was going to buy Kunkel's. We're not. We're not buying Kunkel's. We're not buying the Dairy Queen. Both are owned by the same person. But Tony Cartwright has been a great partner for us. So you're going to see some co-branded things with Kunkel's. So we're going to try to position a camera from Kunkel's that's going to kind of be able to, you can get online and be able to see the building once it's under construction and kind of see it, on a live shot from a video camera. That's actually going to be called the Kunkel Cam. And then we're also doing some co-branded cups and that kind of thing, because we have a website that you can go to on the Reid Health site, so reidhealth.org /build up. And so where you can kind of get some FAQs and get the latest on what's going on. And Tony's going to help us market that through Kunkel's. So, yeah, but we're not buying Kunkel's. So
that's always the number one question. And next, so what happens to the building?
Yeah, so the site at Virginia Avenue, so, what people would know as, the old Fayette Regional Hospital, once the new one is done in 2024, we'll move out of that one, and we'll tear it down, and we'll plant some seed there, and then we're talking with the city and with the county and also with the school corporation on what's next for that space. Most likely we'll gift it to one or, pieces of, to each of those entities and kind of split it up, whatever makes sense. But we'd like a lot of input from those groups. And, we've heard a lot of folks when we were, for example, at the Big Bill Bash, a lot of people, came over and said, that would be a great parking lot for the Spartan Bowl. And so we've heard that one. We know that. And that may be what ends up happening. Who knows? But, we're going to get input. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to leave it and be hopeful that something will happen with it and then it not. And then just kind of gradually see it deteriorate, and become something that's unmanageable. So we're going to do the responsible thing and go ahead and take it down and then talk with the folks in Fayette County about what's next for it.
So when there's opportunity for community involvement, engagement, please make sure that you attend those meetings so that your voice is heard.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, on that website that I mentioned, there's even an area where you can go in and ask questions, or you can provide some input there as well. But we will conduct some meetings. We will host, some group kind of like town hall meetings and those types of things where we're, also, I know we spoke recently at the Rotary, for example. We love to hear feedback at those kinds of sessions. Just, there might be something that we're not thinking of, or if we start to hear something over and over and over again, then we know, hey, that's real. We need to pay attention to that. And so, yeah, we want people to express their thoughts and have a voice, and we're going to be seeking that out as we go throughout this process.
I know another place that you can get input is the Coffee with Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so make sure that people come and express their voice at that location as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk about as we move into go into some of the other things. We have Connersville, but what are some of the things that some of the other groups that you work with are doing?
As far as some of the areas I support at Reid? Yeah, so we're doing some exciting things. So I mentioned, earlier that marketing communications is one of the departments that I support. So Judy Willett and her team, they're doing a lot of great work right now. We're actually kind of tip this over. We're getting ready to launch in 2023 a new brand. So when we talk about brand, what that really means is the logo is not changing, Reid Health's name is not changing, nothing like that. But for example, the Right Here Beside You, or Right Beside You, is probably going to change, and it's going to be something different. I won't. Judy would get. I don't want to. I'm nervous to say what it's going to be. I think
Correct.
I might get in trouble, and so I'll just save it. That way I don't. But in early 2023, we're going to launch a new kind of tagline, and it's exciting. And they've spent a lot of time and hard work on that. And so you'll see some changes to our webpage, but also to some of the marketing that we're putting out in the community. For example, the show, name might change a little bit, maybe.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, so it's exciting stuff. But I think what's most exciting about all of it is that this new brand is really about the communities that we serve. It's really about our people. It's the connection between Reid and those that we serve, and it's highlighting that relationship. And I think that that's what's going to be really fun and exciting about it. We're going to be, kind of featuring people who live in our 8-county service region and talk about their, relationship with Reid. So it's exciting. Yeah.
And then on community benefit.
Yeah, so community benefit. So Angela Klein's the director of community benefit, and she does a terrific job. And she works with so many nonprofits throughout the eight counties. And I don't know how she gets to all 8 counties all the time, but so community benefit, and sometimes it's confusing for people when they think about, you have Reid Foundation and then you have community benefit. Community benefit is the way that one of the many ways that Reid gives back to the community. So for example, we were talking about the community day of sharing in Fayette. That's part of community benefit, right? Yes. Reid paid our employees to be there, and that's part of community benefit.
Right. Driving Thursday.
You're right.
And Medical Monday.
Exactly. All those things that where Reid's out and engaged in the community and supporting the community, those are things that are often community benefit, and community benefit pays for those. That also includes grants. So community benefit this past year we had 2 grant cycles that supported our community health needs assessment from 3 years ago, which one was for nutrition, weight, and physical activity. The other was for mental health and children's health. In 2023, and for 2023, 24, and 25, so it's a 3-year span, we'll have 3 grant cycles, and they will be for mental health, and children's health. There'll also be one for physical weight, nutrition, and physical activity. And then the third one will be for maternal, fetal, and children's health. Okay. So we'll have 3 grant cycles. We'll be rolling those out here at the beginning of the year and letting all of our nonprofit partners kind of know about the new process and the new cycle. But we've been in the process of doing our community health needs assessment throughout this entire year, and that's a big undertaking. Right. And that's actually on our website, reidcommunities.org, and you can see that community health needs assessment. I mean, it's like 400 pages long.
It's amazing.
It's really, there's a ton of data in it.
And also, you also cover our volunteers and then the foundation as well as community outreach.
Yeah.
So real quickly, the volunteers, how valuable are the volunteers?
Oh, the volunteers, we had a community, a volunteer celebration luncheon last week. And, it was great to spend, the afternoon with them. The volunteers are amazingly helpful. So one, they provide, they deliver the mail, they greet our guests, they take them, to where they need to go. They do a lot of things in offices throughout the health system. And so, for example, we celebrated 6,000 volunteer hours that group put in last year. And you think about it, a volunteer hour is kind of valued around $30. So that's $180,000 of payroll that they helped to invest. They also gave us a $400,000 check because all of the purchases from the Ginkgo boutique and a lot of the sales that they do, that kind of thing, they are able to use that money at the end of the year and make a gift to Reid Foundation to support things. So, like, for example, Shoes for Kids is one of the things that the Reid Auxiliary is supporting, among a lot of other things. Right. Our volunteers are extremely important. We're glad that they're with us.
Well, Jason, the time has gone so quickly.
We knew this would happen.
But I want to thank you for joining us today on Reid Beside You. We're going to have you back so we can talk more about the foundation and some things that are coming up.
Sounds great. I'd love it.
And thank you for joining us today on Reid Beside You.